That's prophecy, family. I got one other point to make in today's message, but I just want to quickly share an experience I had this week, another one, at the gymnasium, and how I have a passion to just build people. There's a young fellow, his name is Mike, that I was thinking I'm going to try to reach this guy for Christ. Ryan knows that because I said he reminds me an awful lot of Ryan. Mike is 21 years old and kind of like has a physique like Ryan. The first moment I met him, he was doing like a squat and I was spotting him, and I just felt a connection like the way I connect with Ryan. And I love our young adults, and so we've been working out a little bit together. And he goes to, is it ISU? Where does Jennifer? Where does she go? Yeah. And I was like, I told him, I said, we have a small church, but we got a number of young adults, and I said we even have a couple that go to ISU, so we have all type of connections. And I kept thinking, I'm gonna try to reach Mike for Christ. Well, this past Monday, I go into the gym and Mike's there. He's ready to work out. Mike just walks up to me. He's like, he said, I'm trying to figure out God's will for my life. We had never spoken about Christ or told each other we were Christians. And he just boldly said, I want to know God's will for my life. I said, uh-oh. I said, Mike, you used the G word. I said, you used the G word. I said, we've got to talk about God. And just the floodgates opened for discussion about God. And I told him, I was like, I don't approach people and tell them I'm a pastor because that puts up a religious barrier. I try to build a bridge. He said, I'm the same way. That's why I waited to talk to you about God. I said, I was doing the same thing. It was God's sovereignty. And then it was all God language from there, as you can imagine, okay? And then Mike said this near the end of our workout. He said, Pastor, I've been looking for someone to be a mentor in my life. And just for accountability, I'm careful about how I use my time. It's devoted for the church, and I always get opportunities in the community. I didn't say yes, okay? I'm just weighing that carefully, how to invest my time. And he said, Pastor, I'm looking for a mentor. And here's the point about prophecy, family. I want to share this. I stated it before. I'm making it very personal. I thought, I would rather have the opportunity to mentor Mike in Christ than to lead him to Christ. This is what I mean. I think if I invest in Mike, and you can add in all of you, I think it's possible to invest in him in such a way where he could then reach 100,000 people for Christ. That's what I mean about my passion, is to strengthen the church. It's to, well, Jesus said it, make disciples. It's to help people grow in their walk. I love reaching out to the lost. You know that. I'm always telling you stories about that. But as I had this discussion with Mike, and I found out he was a believer, and he said he was looking for a mentor in his life, I thought, if I had the choice, it would be to make disciples. It would be to mentor a person to be fully developed in their walk so they can reach the world for Christ. That's that emphasis of what Paul's saying in prophecy, this passion to build and strengthen so the church grows and goes and is powerful for Jesus. Okay, I'm making my final point here. Let's say you say, okay, Pastor, I'm going to ask God for the gift because I don't have the gift, but you don't receive the gift. Now, this is as plain as it gets, family. If you don't receive the gift or you don't have the gift, then just speak in a manner that builds people up. Remember Paul said you should desire prophecy over tongues, because tongues is like this other language of you and God, and you say it and people are not quite sure what's going on, but prophecy is just this clear speaking to build. That's it. So if you don't have the gift of prophecy, if you have not received the gift, let's be about speaking in a way that builds other people up. I want to give you a definition and then the closing challenge. Because when you think of build, don't we think of building a pond? And that's an extension of build. You think of a foundation in place, and okay, the bricks and mortars, let's start building up. You think even of a church. Let's start doing things in a way that we're built up and we're growing, and there's more people and there's programs. And naturally, you think building, you think extending upon a foundation. That's the outworking of building, but in the Greek, it's actually laying the proper foundation. And then you're about the building process. Now, family, remember this. Who's Paul writing to? He's writing to groups of people who have experienced division. They've had leaders that they've set up, and as a result of that, there's been splits in the church. So Paul's speaking against that. And he's saying you need this renewed understanding of what it means to build this, the right foundation first. And then you grow in the proper manner that God desires. I believe God's all about giving the everlasting foundation in Christ, but I believe God's at times just says, I'm going to give you this fresh understanding of the right foundation. I'm convinced that's what's happening at this church. Eternal foundation in Christ, but this fresh understanding of the proper foundation upon which to build. It's that tree that the worship team sang and Anna was sharing about. And I think that's what God has been about in our recent history and wants us focused on. Just moving forth from here, speaking in the manner that builds. I'll close with this. But before I close, I just want to say it's another word of affirmation to build you. In closing, did you know last week I preached for 45 minutes? It was 15 minutes away from an hour of preaching. And because I have to post the messages to the web, I was like, wow, that was a 45-minute message. I know for me, it only felt like 5 minutes. I know it's a different thing when you're out there listening to it. But I thought that was great because at the end of that, you all were like alert and like alive and all. They weren't sleeping in bed and all that. And Rourke kind of made a joke when we were talking to Pastor Javier of the Hispanic congregation. Pastor told Rourke and I one time, he said, man, he said, I preached for 2 hours the other day. And Rourke said to Pastor Javier, he's like, our pastor won't do that. He says, CJ knows better than that. He said, CJ hits the 45-minute mark, and we're like, all right, CJ, wind it up. Bring it to an end. But you all were great last week. I don't think I've gone that long here, but I'm bringing this to a close, okay? If you don't have the gift of prophecy, if you don't receive it, just speak to one another in a way that builds them up, that lifts them up, that edifies them. We frequently looked at Ephesians 4:29, and I wanted to put it in the context of Ephesians 4:22 in particular, and just get this closing challenge of you speaking to others to build them up. So Ephesians 4:22 and 29, you were taught with regard to your former way of life to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires. So do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. I know as Christians we believe and we know we need the supernatural power of God to live and to love and to grow. We have that established. But don't you realize accomplishing Ephesians 4:29 is impossible without God's help? That means every time this opens up, especially in the company of others, people are built up around. And I've said this a number of times, like, you want to know the opposite of it. The opposite of is people speaking that wounds others, that hurts others, it causes others pain for years. And Paul's just getting at it. You're to be the opposite of that. You don't need the gift of prophecy to accomplish this, but you do need the supernatural power and grace of God. Can you say amen to that? Amen. We need God's grace. And so I thought, Paul puts it well how we can become Ephesians 4:29. And it's just more straight talk. He's pretty much getting that something of the way you used to be needs to die. It's the healthy view of death where Jesus says, if you're going to follow after me, you have to take up a cross. And that cross puts to death the way in us that is not Christ-like. That's exactly what Paul's saying. That old you, it's outside of Christ, but in Christ there's still a battle to live the way you want, to talk the way you want. And Christianity is like, we need to identify those ways and through the power of Christ and his wonderful cross, put it to death. As that occurs, you know what happens? You start thinking about other people's needs and how you can speak and live in a way that they are built up. They are strengthened. They are encouraged in their walk with Christ. Family, I kind of said this last week with outreach. Now I'm going to say it this week in terms of strengthening one another. Can you easily picture in your mind how this church grows by just living like this? Like this week, Tomorrow, I'm having fellowship with the Taylor family. All of us are thinking, how to live out Ephesians 4:29. And we're sitting around talking, we're challenging each other, we're sharpening each other. We say the tough words, but we're mostly thinking, how do I just build each other? You're doing that in your marriage. You're doing that in your relationships. You're doing that at your job. Wherever you're going, God, help me to speak in a way so people are built up around me. And then watch how I grow. And then an analogy with trees. People around me are growing to the glory of God. The closing challenge, I gave one last week, I'll give it here. And you are free to say no. That's your freedom in Christ. You know, I'm all about your freedom. You're free to say no to this. But would you be willing to ask God to identify a particular way in you that needs to be put to death? It needs to come to an end. Maybe it's anger, frustration, you're short-tempered, you're thinking only of self, lustful, whatever, impatient, a way in you that needs, by the power of Christ, to be put to death. So that this renewed life in Christ, you conform to Ephesians 4:29. Again, you might be sitting there saying, Pastor, I ain't saying yes and that, because I know God will do something, He'll start working on me in some way. But I'll publicly say, I'm willing to ask God to search my heart, to see about ways in me that I think mostly are just kind of selfish, they're centered on Craig, that needs to be put to death so I can be more others-centered. And so here we have a growing church, continuing to grow and prosper according to the will of God, based on the Word of God. That's prophecy. That's what God desires for His people.